Good morning. Good morning. Charmaine Byers here. Thank you so much for tuning in to Chit Chat with Char. This is our very first show. So, Chit Chat with Char, our mission is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate. We are connecting with others so that we can connect you to others. We are collaborating, bringing knowledge, expertise, and experience together to cultivate meaningful relationships and partnerships that will make a lasting impact on those we come in contact with. Thanks again for joining us this morning. Today, in this episode, we will be talking to Lyndon Wilson, who is the creator of The Difference. And we are glad to have you here. Lyndon, if you're on, come on and join us.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
For this to, and I want to preface this before I get started. If people see me looking down, I am doing the back end production, so I'm sharing with other platforms and stuff like that. So I'm not playing games on Facebook or anything like that. I'm actually working.
No problem.
But for you to say this is your first show, you already sound like a professional. So I'm really excited to continue this with you and make some great memories with these shows. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Lyndon, you and I met about 3 to 4 years ago. I first met you at a workshop, the Adapt Realtor workshop that you had at your office over off of 635. And since then, we have just stayed in contact and stayed connected to one another. And I'm so glad that you have presented this opportunity for me to be a part of The Difference. And I'm excited about it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we did. We met about 3 years ago at that event. That was something I was doing at the time. I still do a little bit of the real estate coaching. And then you and I had a chance to just sit down one-on-one and just talk. I mean, we didn't really talk business. We just got to know each other.
That's
and
right.
I'll never forget that, Charmaine, because it was, in today's, and I think we talked a little bit about this that day, just our, the culture of our country, the culture of the world, what's going on in society, how, you've got these people trying to divide here and there in different places. And you and I we sat down and we connected because we're just two people that, the only thing that everybody really wants is peace and prosperity. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
We want the same thing. And we allow these certain factions, whether it's, media, politics, whatever, to divide us. And when folks and I encourage people to do this, to sit down and get to know that person, not for what they do, not their business, not their profession, just who they are.
Right.
Listen to what's going on in their life. They're just like us. We're all just alike. We're all fighting the same battle. And that battle's not to fight each other, right? We're fighting the same battle. And you and I struck up a friendship. And I mean, of course, with Facebook, you don't have to see each other every day to feel like you see each other every day, right?
That's right.
So we've kept in contact. And when we started growing out these shows, you were one of the first ones that I thought of. I'm like, man, I would love to get her on here because I want people to know you the way I've gotten to get to know you.
Nice. You are so kind. But I really do enjoy our friendship, and I enjoy everything that you've showed me, from the real estate perspective and things that you've kind of introduced me to. So I thank you for that again. Well, let's jump right in. So, Lyndon, what's your story?
Where do I start? I guess I've been an entrepreneur. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit. I watched my mother, and I've told this story before, people have heard it. I watched my mother work in corporate world for 19 and a half years, only to get laid off 6 months before retirement so that they could avoid that, big retirement payout. And it was at that point, because I grew up in a time and in a family and in a community where they encourage you to get that corporate job and stick with that corporate job and be the corporate person, and they're going to take care of you and everything's going to be fine. And when I saw that, I realized that putting your faith and trust into something like that, while it works for a lot of people, I'm not sure it works the same as it used to many, many years ago. Right. I didn't have that comfort level. I didn't have that comfort level to work 19 years and do my very best only to be cut loose at the end. And I'm like, I want to control my own destiny. So I decided to be an entrepreneur, and it has been one big, long roller coaster. It is good, it is bad, it is terrible, it is awesome, and it can be all of that in the same day. But I wouldn't have it any other way. My problems are up to me to solve,
Yeah.
and I trusted myself to do that. And so I've gone everywhere, Charmaine, from fitness, where I got started as an entrepreneur, into mortgage credit repair, and now into digital media.
Nice, nice. Okay, so tell us something about you that maybe your regular followers wouldn't know about you.
Um, well, regular followers probably wouldn't know that I've been in. I'm a football nut. I've been involved in football. I was high school, college. I played in college. I played minor league football until I was 41 years old,
Wow.
and I coached high school football for 14 years while being an entrepreneur. And during that 14-year run, we went to the state championship 7 times. I wasn't the head coach. I was an assistant. We went to the state championship 7 times. We won it 3 times. My last and final year of coaching, which my son was a senior,
Mhm.
we went 14-0, won the state championship, and ended up ranked 2nd in the nation in private schools.
Wow, congrats on that. You are
Thanks.
a football nut then.
I love it. It's been a huge part of my life, and a lot of the reasons why I feel like I've been on the journey and had the successes that I've had.
Good, good. Okay, so tell me what wakes you up in the morning? What drives you? What moves you?
What wakes me up in the morning is my little miniature schnauzer, and she wakes me up at 6:30 every morning. But no, seriously, what drives me basically is being better,
Mhm.
right? Being better than I was yesterday. I'm obsessed with, it's what I preach, during the ADAPT programs and stuff like that. Self-improvement, business development. That's where I've always had this passion. And because I preach it, because I was a coach, right? So let
Mhm.
me back up just a second. One of the things, as I grew up and I went through as a player, I would watch some of these coaches that couldn't walk 10 yards without getting out of breath. And yet they're telling me
Wow,
to run these sprints, right? And I'm like, how
wow.
can you challenge someone to do something that you're not capable of doing or proving? And I told myself then, if I'm ever going to be a coach, I want to be able to do everything I challenge those kids to do. And Charmaine, that's what I did. I had a great relationship with the guys that I coached, because I would get out there and compete with them every day,
Yeah,
And I loved it. And they felt like I was part of them, not just telling them what to do. And that's what I've brought into my professional life, or I've tried to, is I want to, whatever it is that I'm encouraging someone to do, I want to be in that battle with them. And so
absolutely.
being better is important to me. Exceeding expectations. I've had a lot of doubters in my life, and
Yeah,
that fuels me more than anything else. When those people look at me and go, he'll never make it, he'll fail. I had a
yeah.
college coach tell me that as a freshman. He told me,
Wow.
he says, you're not a football player. You need to just quit and go get your degree and get on out of here. And he ended up getting fired, and I ended up starting the next year. And so
Wow.
when someone tells me I can't, I know everybody says that, and I know that's a
Mhm.
huge motivator, but it is for me. It
Yeah.
really is. And just proving the doubters wrong. And that's been the challenge with the difference as well.
Okay. Good, good. Okay, so what is one of the greatest things that's happened to you this year? I know a lot has happened.
There has been. It's been 2020, as terrible as it was for so many people, was a good year for me. And a lot of things happened. I think it was a good year for a lot of people, and not to make light of what happened, but I think professionally, a lot of people take those challenging times and they find ways to win. And I
Mhm.
saw a lot of people that didn't allow 2020 to crush them. They actually grew through it.
Right.
And so, but as far as this year goes, I would have to say, and this, a lot of people don't, but I got engaged. So,
Woo!
and
Congratulations.
I'll be getting married in February, and to an amazing woman. I couldn't be happier.
I'm so excited for you. I know when I found out, I was like, hey, you didn't tell me. I had to hear it through the grapevine, but I'm so excited for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So we're in the middle of the week. So far, what's been your highlight this week?
Oh, well, it's the highlight is that it was 2 days ago actually, and I had some business meetings for the difference and some things that we're trying to do and accomplish, and all of those came to fruition. And 3 days ago, I can't announce it yet,
Okay.
but it is coming, and it's going to be huge for the network that we have. When I talk about the difference, I don't want people to think about me talking about something I created. The difference is a community of people, and that's what it's all about. And that's, when you talk about the difference, what makes the difference? Well, in my opinion, for all of us, it's community. It's how we connect and engage and interact and build these bonds and these fortresses of professionalism that allows us to compete with these big corporations that are just swallowing up the mom and pop shops at an alarming rate.
Right.
So I built the difference for the independent small business owner, the real estate industry, because I've got a lifetime of relationships there. And 3 things that I said before that everybody told me I couldn't do. Well, I just proved them wrong 3 days ago. It's going to happen. I'll be making an announcement about that in just a couple of weeks.
Nice. That's so exciting. Okay, so we've talked about the difference a little bit. Let's give us a little bit more information about what the difference is and what your mission is for the difference. I know you talked about it being community. It's a network of us coming together and just making different things happen. So tell us a little bit about what prompted you to start the difference, what the difference is, and anything else you'd like to share.
Well, when I had the ADAPT program, the ADAPT program was set up to help realtors grow their business, right? That's all it was about, just self-improvement, business development. And I had been studying social media for a while. I'm fascinated with technology. I'm frustrated with technology because I feel like too many of us are allowing it to take the personal service away from our businesses. But I think I started looking and I'm like, there's a way to mix this. There's a way to blend this so that we still have that personal connection, but that we can use technology and automation for a lot of different things. And being an entrepreneur for 30 years, most businesses don't struggle or fail because of a bad product or service. They struggle or fail because not enough people knew who they were or knew enough about them as a person.
Right.
We do business with who we know, like, and trust. How are we getting known? So, you do your happy hours, you do the lunch and learns, you do all the things that we've all done, but there's a limited amount of people that are there. Right. And so when you look at social media, you can have conversations like you and I are having, like we would have at a Starbucks or we would have at a lunch. And we can share that conversation with so many other people. They get to know me, they get to know you, and then they get to go, I either want to partner with Char, I want to be a business partner, I want to be a brand ambassador for her because she has the same core values as I do, and I believe in that, and I want to support that. Or it's a customer that says, I need to buy a house. I think she's gonna take care of me. I mean, she's got my core values. I believe I can trust her.
Right.
And so bringing the visualization of that and the exposure to that, one of my mentors talks all the time about obscurity is the absolute worst thing that can happen to a business owner. If nobody's hearing our message, it's irrelevant.
Right.
And so then that takes me to the second part of the difference where I wanted to help people get away from the elevator speech, the sales pitch, because I saw so many people going on social media and just posting, I'm selling this, buy from me. I'm selling this, buy from me. Well, we turn that off pretty quick. I mean, we'll listen for a second. But the other thing too, Char, is if I'm not in the market today to buy a home, I'm not going to listen to you if all you're talking about is buying a home.
Right.
But I will listen to you if you're just talking about being a human. If you're talking about what's going on in my community that is important to me, I'm going to start listening to you. And then when I get ready to buy a home, if we've made that connection and you've become familiar to me, then you're probably going to be one of the people I consider when I get ready to buy a home. So that's what the difference is about. It is about revealing ourselves in a way that's not too intimate, obviously, but is transparent enough that people can look and go, I want to do business with someone that's like me, that understands me, and that has a similar way of thinking that I do. And so that's what the difference has been all about, is helping small businesses connect on a deeper level with the communities and with also the small businesses. Because one thing I think that we forget is that every small business owner is also a consumer.
That's true.
And every small business owner probably has a certain amount of employees, right? They also have a certain amount of clientele. So if I make a good connection with that business owner, hopefully he and I can become brand ambassadors for each other.
Right. That's very good. So how did you pick this line of work? I know sometimes what we end up pursuing is not what we end up doing. It kind of just happens to you. Did that happen to you?
Oh, absolutely. I was going to be a pro football player. As I said, I chased that almost my whole life.
Right.
And, that wasn't in the cards for me. This really did pique me. And I'll give you a quick, short story. But probably about 15 years ago, I had a mentor in Austin, Texas, that contacted me and said, hey, you're very knowledgeable about credit and building credit and fixing credit. And I want you to come down and talk to this room full of real estate agents that I have. And I said, well, I appreciate your confidence in me and giving me that opportunity, but I'm the person that dropped speech class 3 times in college because I couldn't say my name in front of 5 people. That just wasn't my personality. And I wouldn't say argued, but debated whether I was going to do this for about 30 minutes. And my last comment was, I really appreciate it, but I'm going to have to say no. Her last comment was, I'll see you Monday at noon. And she hung up the phone. So I drove to Austin because I just felt obligated. I went through the whole nightmare. It was a nightmare for the first 5 minutes. And after that, it was a life-changing experience. It really was. And so fast forward to 2019, I had a person approach me because I'd been doing some live streaming and helping realtors with live streams. And he wanted me to do a radio show. And we started doing the radio show. COVID hit. I didn't want to stop. So I'm like, I'm going to create my own media broadcast company, and I'm going to help other people do this. And so that's how I am where I am right now. And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's I've watched some of the other shows that you are producing, and lots of awesome information. So very happy to be in partnership with you. Give me an example of a mistake or a failure that you've made in your life that you experienced, and tell me what you learned from it.
So being someone that has had a lifetime of doubters, right? People look at me, oh, you're not capable, you're not able, you don't have what it takes, all the way from football through my career. And being able to prove them wrong, being able to go from a somewhat modest upbringing in Arkansas to moving to Dallas and improving my life and improving, the lives of others around me as much as I could. I wanted to help everybody do that. I wanted to lift everybody up. And I have, whether it was in the fitness industry, whether it was changing, people's self-esteem, changing their body image, whatever it was, I wanted to be that guy, right? I wanted to be the knight in shining armor that came in and rescued them from wherever they were, lifted them out of that. And I spent a lifetime trying to do that. And I still do. The lesson that I learned, though, Char, is some people don't want to be helped.
So true.
It's sad. Some people don't want to be helped, and you've got to be very careful. You can't let it jade you so that you don't want to help those that you can, but you've got to be careful because they will completely monopolize all your resources and all of your time, and you'll feel like that you're not successful right? It'll kind of start
Yeah.
seeping into you, and you'll lose confidence in yourself. And so my biggest challenge is learning how to identify who wants help, who wants to help themselves and will accept help, who's coachable,
Right.
and then being able to focus on those people.
So you mentioned that some people don't want to be helped. Where do you think that stems from?
Comfort zones. I mean, we
Mhm.
all want better results,
Right.
but some of us, some people have bought into the doubters around
Hmm.
them, right? People are
Very.
telling them they can't do it, and so they don't believe that they can. And one person is not going to probably impact them enough to overshadow 20, 30 doubters. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, sometimes it's our own family that doubts us. And those are the people that we confide in and know the most about us. And so they're afraid of failing. They're afraid of being told, "I told you so. I told you you couldn't do it."
Hmm.
And so therefore they stay where they are because they understand it's sometimes it's comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I see it a lot, especially when you're dealing with the real estate industry and people, who are currently renting, and you have the conversation about home ownership, and it's frightening to some people. So I definitely understand, where that comes from. And I think a lot of it is just not knowing the future. Like we always want to know, like, what is going to be the end result? If I take this huge risk, am I going to be successful? And if we can't say yes without a doubt, I think that paralyzes a lot of us.
It does. And I think that, we've talked a lot. And one of the things that I've been doing since day one with the difference is writing down things that I'm taking from all these shows, because I've been fortunate enough to be at least a producer on every show so far, over
Good.
600 shows last year.
That's
So,
awesome.
I get to sit here and absorb all of this insight, all of this experience, all of this information. One of the biggest things that I would say, the number one thing that makes the difference for people is mindset. And it's we have to have a mindset shift from what our parents taught us, from what our culture has taught us, from whatever it may be. We have to have a mindset shift, and we've got to find the circle of people that will help us make that transition. But it is mindset, and it is that fear of failing. But the other thing that I think is part of the mindset shift is to get away from focusing on the result and focus on the process. I can control the process. I cannot control the result.
Right.
I'll give you a football example. I can control how I practice. I can control how I prepare for a game. I can't control whether we win or not.
That's right.
I
That's
can't
a great
control whether
analogy.
we win. But at the end of the day, one of the greatest football games I ever played in, we were playing Central Arkansas. They were number one in the nation, and we were number three, and we'd never beaten them. And by the way, my 4 years in college, we never beat them. They were that good.
Wow.
But we played them the best game that we'd ever, the most competitive game that we'd ever played against them. And at the end of that game, we were all hurt that we lost, but so
Hmm.
proud about how we performed. They were just better.
Yeah.
And we can't do anything about that. But when you look at the superstar athletes, the Kobe Bryants, Michael Jordans, Tom
Hmm.
Brady's, their preparation is what makes them good. And that's what we can control. And if we can help these people that we're trying to lift up get away from, am I going to succeed? Am I not? That's a result.
Right.
Am I going to be rich? Am I not? That's a result.
Hmm.
And let's just focus on getting better than where you are right now. It becomes a little bit easier. And those that buy into that are the ones that get out of where they, that move past where they were.
Got it. That's good. So what has been like one of the defining moments in your life that's got you to where you are right now?
I would have to go back, and I hate to just keep repeating, but I'd have to go back to my college days in football. The day that, I went to play college football, and everybody looked at me because I was a very, very small, short, slow football player. And so people are like, what are you thinking? Why are you wasting your time doing this? And it's just something I wanted. And it's something that my father believed in me. My dad believed that I could do it. And I wanted to prove him right. I wanted to live up to what he thought I was. And so I wouldn't quit. College football taught me perseverance. As bad as it was, I wouldn't give up. And I could have, and everybody would have thought, it's okay. Nobody would have thought twice about it. And no one would have a memory of that I ever even tried out for football if I would have quit. Right. And I kept trying, and I kept going, and I kept pushing. And I got with a group of people that were good, and they allowed me to associate with them. And I went to the weight room when they went to the weight room. I went to the training table and ate what they ate. And I started to change. I started to become like them. And that's when the dust settled, my college career was over. I looked back and I'm like, I came from this walk-on player that nobody wanted to actually, we had a contest my junior year, and it was all of the sports, and it was called the Pride Club. And we tested in speed, endurance, strength, and all of that. And I actually finished third out of probably 300 athletes that were tested. And that's from someone that would have finished dead last the first day I got there. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that to brag at all. It's just a testament to, if you want it bad enough and you don't give up and you don't listen to the people telling you to stop, right? Sooner or later, you'll find some success. And I have used that, when I said before, as an entrepreneur, it's a roller coaster, right? When you get in those down moments, I have to get by myself sometimes and remember what it was like in college and go, this is not any worse than that. It's not any tougher than that. You're not being doubted any more than you were being doubted then. So quit feeling sorry for yourself, get your butt back in there and keep pushing.
Good. One of the key things that you said, and I think for the agents that I manage and my children and, anybody that I come in contact with, I like to share that same testament that, if you want to be successful, you have to be around the people that are successful and that are doing it, because they have the insight, they know. And not only do they know, but they have that experience, right? So that's a really key point that you brought out there. Your story kind of reminds me of the story of Rudy, with all the football analogies.
It was, I watched Rudy. There's another one called The Greater, and it was a Arkansas Razorback, which I'm an Arkansas Razorback fan, but he was also a walk-on. So I watched those shows, and it brings back a lot of fond memories. Charmaine, you just mentioned something about having that circle of successful people. And when we talked earlier about why do people, why is it so hard to lift those people up? I think sometimes it's hard also because in our minds, we understand and realize that in order for me to get to another level, I'm going to have to let a lot of people go.
That's hard.
I'm going to have to let them go. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't love them anymore. It doesn't mean that I don't care for them anymore, but they are not conducive to, they're on this side of the river. I got to get on that side of the river, and they don't want to cross. Yeah. So you've got to say goodbye sometimes to, maybe what's been your whole life. That's true. And I think I think for a lot of people, that's what they're most afraid of, is that I don't mind finding a new group. I just don't want to let these go, but you have to let them go. If you're because if they're the doubters, if they're the anchor that's holding you back, you got to cut it loose.
Right. And sometimes that is a really, really harsh reality, because to your earlier point, sometimes that means family. And that's a harsh reality. I find myself, I don't know if you know this, but I have 3 older boys, and together with my husband, we have 5 kids. So with my 3 older boys, I find myself telling them that very same thing all of the time, that, sometimes you're going to have to let some people go. And, they're all in their 20s. My oldest is 26 and my youngest is 23. And, having those conversations with them at that age, they haven't experienced enough to truly understand what I mean by that. If
Right.
you have to have people around you that are walking in the same direction. So very, very, very good points. Um, we've talked a lot about, your defining moments in your life, some of what you've gone through in your life. What is your why? Why do you do what you do? Why are you so passionate about us realtors and people?
I guess I love the underdog story. I love the inspiring stories. I mean, you talked about Rudy, and those are the movies that you know that I love watching. Changing people's lives. Char, I was in credit repair for 18 years, and
Mhm.
I would watch these people that were struggling so bad to just make it. They didn't have the freedom and the opportunity financially to do the things that they were working so hard to do.
Right.
And there was a mindset shift that had to occur there. There was a lot of habits that had to change there.
Mhm.
And I love that because I told I don't know if people remember the old Hair Club for Men commercial. I'm not just the president. I was my first client. That was me in credit repair. Okay, so
Mhm.
I went through every nightmare in with credit that anybody had ever gone through, and I came out on the other side.
Right.
And it was like I landed in a new world of opportunity, and I wanted to share those experiences. I wanted to see the look on their face when they went from here to there.
Right.
And that's just, I guess it's the coach, the teacher, whatever you want to call it. That's where I find the most fulfillment in my life, is being a part of somebody's journey and
Mhm.
getting to see them cross the finish line.
That's awesome. So beyond having haters, what has been one of the greatest challenges that you faced?
Um, Let me see. The biggest challenge that I've had in the difference in these past 20 months is just being able to articulate the vision. Because I've always been that person that sits back and tries to figure out what nobody else is doing. I want to
Mhm.
be the first one. I want to be the first one on the moon. I want to be the first one on Mars. I'll take all the risk. I just want to get there first.
Mhm.
And so when you do that, a lot of times, not only do you have those doubters, but it's just people don't understand the vision,
The vision.
right? And so when I start talking to people about a radio show, or I start talking about a live stream and video, people see that from your basic broad lens of, oh, I'm going to get on there. A lot of people's going to hear me and they're going to buy from me immediately. And that's not what the difference is about.
Mhm.
This is about making connections. And the only way to connect with people is let them get to know who you are.
That's
And,
right.
and so, and then for a lot of people too, they are intimidated by being on camera. They're intimidated by hearing, going back and listening to a recording of their voice, and that we've got this mindset of what we should look like, what we should sound like.
Mhm.
And reality is, to the other 7 billion people on the earth, this is who we are, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And so you've got to get past all of that. So that's been the biggest challenge. And
Mhm.
when you have something so unique, obviously, it takes money to run this network. When you have something so new, a lot of people are afraid to put a little bit of money in it because they don't know, what's happening. Well, we've got
Yeah.
20 months under our belt, and we've got we've got a lot of experience and a lot of results. And so people are starting to see it now. They're starting to understand, and they're watching others. And so we're getting a pretty big excitement. I probably get 5 calls a week about people wanting to start shows, and some people just aren't really ready yet.
Mhm.
But I'm helping them, get where they need to be so that they can be successful, because that's the other thing. I'm not looking to add shows just to see how many shows I can get or how much money I can make.
Yeah.
I want people to win, right? I want people to go, the difference makes a difference.
Right.
If you're part of the difference, whether you're watching it, whether you're on a show, whether you're a guest, if you're involved in that community, it's going to help your business grow. If you are a consumer watching professionals on that show, you're going to know the right ones to pick.
Right.
You're going to know. I mean, it's like an Angie's List come to life, right?
Right.
So, everybody can put a blurb on the internet about how great they are, and they can give written reviews and stuff like that. But a show is going to expose who you really and truly are, right? You're in front of people on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Are you consistent with your show? Are you a committed person? Are you consistent? All the things that we may subliminally desire in a person we're going to do business with,
right?
We're going to get to see them act that out in real time on these shows.
Right, right. And then you get to see the human side of people, because when you're, posting or you're just out and about, people get to see small glimpse of who you are. But I think you're really right about that. So you talked about your mentor that was in Austin. Tell us a little bit about her, and if there are any other mentors who's made a difference, or supporters who've made a difference in your life.
Two biggest supporters I ever had was my mother and my father. My father passed away going on 20 years now. Next year,
Mm-hmm.
actually 2 more years. My mother passed away about 9 years ago. They never thought they thought I could do no wrong. I mean, that's not true. They knew I could do some wrong because I was a typical boy. But as far as what I could achieve, they always instilled that confidence in me, even when I didn't believe it myself. So that's where it started. From there, it was a high school coach that I had that talked me into going to college. He goes, "You can make it. I know you don't believe you can. You can." Then my college coach, not the one that told me I sucked, the other one, really believed in me and gave me a chance. And from there, one of the ones that I still have today, one of my first jobs in fitness was in Texarkana. I met a guy named Jim Thomas. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he's watching today. He does watch a lot of what we do. I still bounce ideas off of him. We still communicate. But he is one of the most intelligent men that I think I've ever met when it comes to business and really connecting with people. So I work with him. Thaisa, she works for a nonprofit now, but she was in the real estate industry before. And she's the one that taught me the power of connection. That woman knew everybody in Austin. She raised a family. She was still is a good wife and mother, and time management. Mm-hmm. She was a pro. I mean, you can't do all those things and do all those things so well without managing your time well. That's right. And so I was fortunate enough to get to meet her, watch how she managed her schedule, watched how she didn't overpromise and underdeliver. Mm-hmm. I mean, her time management schedule allowed her to do what she said she was going to do. Wow. And because of that, she made these deep, long-lasting connections, and she and I still communicate regularly today.
That's awesome. So for people that are listening in and that are watching that don't really have a true and real understanding of finding a mentor, what advice would you give to them about mentorship and either being a mentor or someone looking for a mentor?
The only way that we can ever grow, either personally or professionally, is through self-awareness. And self-awareness for all of us as a human nature characteristic is a challenging thing, because we sometimes don't want to be quite totally honest with ourselves about who we are. Kind of like what I said before about when you see yourself on camera and hear yourself on camera, we have a vision of who we look like and what we sound like until we see it on camera and hear it on camera. Mm-hmm. The same is true for everything else that we do. We need people to tell us the truth. We need people to tell us what others are seeing in us, how we are being perceived, what we can do to improve that, if improvement is really what we want. One of the things you probably heard me say in the ADAPT program is that, and I don't know if anybody else uses it. I don't know if I coined that phrase. I feel like I did, but behavioral branding.
Mm.
Behavioral branding. It is our habits and behaviors come to life that other people see in us and develop a value based on that behavioral brand. Are you worth what you say you're worth?
Mm-hmm.
Do you do what you say you're going to do? Are you on time? Are you professional? All these, we can tell everybody my customer service is the best.
Right.
No one ever says it's not the best. No one ever says, I kind of need to work on my customer service, but I'd really love to be your realtor, right?
Right.
So, everybody's Facebook is a highlight reel of all their best moments.
Exactly.
So our behavioral brand, what we don't realize as professionals is we have a behavioral brand.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something you can avoid. You have it.
Right.
Because it's people observing you. And so being self-aware of and having maybe a certain list of the things that we want to be known for in a positive light.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that we need to focus on. So, because as small business owners, I mean, I know that you work for Coldwell Banker Apex, which is a huge, very positive brand, right?
Yes. Yes.
But you still are independent. Charmaine is an independent real estate agent, and you are your brand. People do business with you, not necessarily Coldwell Banker Apex. They do business with you.
Mm-hmm.
Coldwell Banker Apex supports that and backs that up and gives you even more strength.
Right. And more credibility.
More credibility, that's right. And more validity for who you are. But you have a responsibility to Coldwell Banker Apex that your behavioral brand is at the top so that you represent them well as well.
That's right. I totally agree with that. So self-awareness is the key. And I'm just taking some notes here because I think that that's something that we should, consistently talk about, and being self-aware and not being afraid to take deep, hard looks at ourselves, and which is something that we really don't like to do.
No, we don't. And we get caught up in the whole, again, results part of our careers, right? I mean, we all have bills to pay. We all have families to raise. We have to make money. But sometimes we become so consumed in the revenue generating that we forget about the other things that is required for longevity and wealth creation, right?
That's right.
You can generate income and not create wealth.
Right.
And so we have to take time and take a step back. We need that mentor. We need that friend to say, hey, you're kind of focused on this over here. I get it, but don't forget about this over here. I think it's very important. I mean, one of the things that I talked about, Jim Thomas, he was a mentor in the fitness business. That's what I did when I first came to Dallas, is I had a couple of fitness centers. And we studied our company. I mean, I was a small independent, right? I had 24 hours on one side, Bally's is on the other side. That's how long ago it was. There was a Bally's fitness center. So people are like, what's Bally's? But so we studied them. We studied, what are they doing in marketing? What are they doing in their sales specials? What are they doing in their personal training? How can we compete? And for a lot of us, again, we may look on social media and see that competitor's highlight reel, but are we really studying them? Right. Are we really, it's kind of that SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Everybody needs to be doing one of those on a consistent basis. We need to be evaluating ourselves daily, but we need another set of eyes and another voice. We need someone that's we're not going to hear, how's that saying go? You want to hear coming out of my mouth what your opinion is. Yeah. We don't need that. Right. I want someone to tell me to oppose and challenge what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling.
Right. And I think that right there, when we can find people that will do that for us and with us, and we can do the same thing. That's where the deep and meaningful relationships come from. When you have people around you that are not afraid to say, no, you know what, you probably should have, said this. You may have hurt somebody, or just being really honest and allowing those people in our circle to
Right.
really, truly be honest with us. Because some people don't want that either. We want the yes people around us, to validate our wrongdoings. So that's another thing. And I think you made a great point when you said that we need to constantly, on a daily basis, regular basis, evaluate ourselves.
Yeah. Yes, we do, because our competition is evaluating us on a regular basis, and
Right.
they're seeing our weaknesses. They're
Hmm.
seeing where we're leaving this door open. They're seeing where we're leaving opportunities for them to exploit and either take business that we have or win business that we're chasing. And if we're not aware, I mean, it's I can go back to coaching, right? Okay, so on Saturday morning, we would go in after a football game on Friday night, and we would watch film, and we would watch the players that we coached. Did they do what we coached them to do the week before? Was there
Right.
something they still weren't applying? Did we need to continue with that? Can we take it to another level? And so we would evaluate how we performed. Do I need to change my coaching technique? Maybe I'm trying to teach them something and it's just not resonating. And
Right.
that's why we were struggling. And then we look at the things that they did well, and we want to reinforce that on Saturday morning when they come in to watch the film. And, this is where we've really seen improvement in you. Congratulations. Good job. We still have some things to fix, but we're getting better.
Right.
And then, Charmaine, after that was done that Saturday morning, then we as coaches went in and we looked at our next opponent. We looked at their film.
Right.
Where are they weak? Where are
Hmm.
they not paying attention? Where is a door of opportunity so that we can exploit that and win this game? And then we would go back that next week and we would coach our players on what we were going to do to take advantage of those weaknesses of our opponent. We would teach them how to recognize when that was happening. And it was just a repeat cycle every week. And, it's not just high school football. It's, the Kobe Bryants, all those people, they did that their whole career. They
Right.
studied themselves as much or more than they studied everybody else, but they studied their competitors as well, because they
Hmm.
wanted to learn they wanted to understand how they were doing what they were doing and to see that opportunity to advance themselves.
Exactly. Very good. What advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
Oh man. Let me see. I wrote that down. Listen more. That's what I would do. I would listen more. I mean, it's 16, 17, 18. We all know it
You
all,
know
right?
everything. Yeah.
We got it figured out. I just, I graduated high school, mom and dad. I mean, they teach stuff now they didn't teach you when you were in school. I have to know more than you do. Life is different now. You're living in the past. Wisdom comes from experience. It really does. Wisdom doesn't come out of a book. It may
Right.
come out of applying something you learned in a book over time through experiences, but we don't give credit to those that have lived through these times that we haven't lived through,
Okay.
because they learned a lot too. And my point is, sometimes when I'm talking to younger people, I did when I was a coach, is how do you think the knowledge got to where it is today? How do you think it advances far? Who were the people in front of you that helped get it to where it is right now?
That's right.
Because if nobody was on this planet the day you were born, you wouldn't be nearly as smart as you are right now.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I love that. Listen, uh, can we just give that whole speech to my kiddos, because they just, man, and they fail to realize that we pretty much grew up together. I had my kiddos when I was young, and very young actually, and we grew up together. And for some reason, they think I'm old as Methuselah, and I don't have any insider information. So I'm just looking forward to the day that they're in your spot and they can say, I wish I would have listened more. What books are you currently reading? I'm a huge reader. I love reading books. What books are you reading?
I saw that. I'm like, wow. because up till about, I was trying to read a book a week up to about a year and a half ago when I started The Difference.
Okay.
So I read every day. I study every day. But what I'm studying now is how to put together a radio studio, a radio program. I'm basically going to class. I tell everybody this. It's what I'm doing now. It's like I'm running and trying to tie my shoes at the same time. So I wouldn't say I'm reading any books per se, but I'm going online and gathering information from people that are doing this. I'm reading blog posts.
Okay.
I'm reading things like that. I mean, that's really where I am right now, trying to understand this industry more.
Right.
So that not only can I do it, but that I can that I can mentor and teach these new show hosts that we have coming on.
Right. Right. That's very good. I'm currently reading a book called Love People, Use Things. And it's basically a book that's really talking about the minimalist movement and, not having to live with as much as we do. We like fancy cars and big houses and, all the things that we want. And so this book is really digging deep into loving people, spending more time loving people and using things instead of vice versa. So it's really good. I do a lot of audio listening to books. And we also run a book club with with the Firewheel office with the agents that I manage. So it's I believe that you need to read and always be looking for being a constant learner, always looking
Yep.
for opportunities to learn different things. So I commend you for being where you are and doing the research to that helps us, because when you do the research, we don't have to do it. We can depend on you to kind of get us to where we need to be.
Right. Well, it's funny you said that because, one of the things that you talked about, the audio books. So I'll be going, driving and I listen to podcasts, and I don't necessarily listen to them now. It's just funny. When I first started coaching, when I in high school and college, when we would watch film, I would watch it like a lot of people do on a Sunday NFL game, right? I would watch it for, and even though I played in the game, I'm watching the entertainment value of it. I'm watching a game.
Right.
At some point, you learn to watch it differently, where you're studying and evaluating, right? And so now on NFL Sundays or college games, I don't necessarily watch it for the entertainment value. I'm trying to figure out what those other coaches' strategies are. So it's a completely different way that I watch sports because of my coaching history. And the same thing is true now when I watch talk shows on television and when I listen to podcasts. I'm listening to the way they present things, the way they transition into different segments. I'm trying to pick up these little nuances so that I can become better at what I'm doing, but I can also teach and train. And so that's, sometimes I end up listening to a podcast and I've got notes down and I really don't know what the whole purpose of the podcast was, but I really,
that technique.
Right.
Got it. Got it. Well, we appreciate that. I know I do. I appreciate that because as you're helping me to fulfill one of my goals, which was to develop a podcast and launch it. So you've been adamant and on me and holding me accountable, and I really do appreciate that. I appreciate everything that you've poured into me to get me to this point. So I love you for that, and I appreciate that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where this is going to go. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us today that we haven't talked about already?
No, just any small business owner out there, you don't have to be a part of the difference. If you'd like to just talk to me about how to do video branding, how to really get your voice out there and get the type of voice out there that resonates with the people that you're trying to, I just want to help people be better. I want to help small businesses because we are all in a battle. We really are. And the odds are, I'm not going to say the odds are against us. They're not, because we have the numbers. We just need to unite behind all these small businesses. We can compete against each other, but we don't have to hate each other.
That's right.
One of the things that has frustrated me about small business is the fact that through our own competition, sometimes we diminish the value of our industry because we have these ugly public fights that we shouldn't be having. It's kind of like a family, right? You got to keep this stuff behind closed doors. We need to remember, and Char, I wanted to say this before I got into this, but I want to say thank you for doing so much for the image of the real estate industry. You're one of the front runners, I would say, in bringing that positive image and to an industry. And I'm not picking on real estate. There's a lot of them, but we need to be aware of that. That's part of our self-awareness, right? We need to realize how if people are struggling and always wanting discounts and always wanting reduced pricing, there's a reason why they're wanting that. And a lot of times it's just how they perceive our image or our industry. And so being someone that's so positive all the time, and that just, you have your Facebook posts every day that are uplifting and inspirational. And I just want to say kudos and congratulations to you for being that type of person. That's the type of person that makes the difference. And so if anybody else is out there that has a small business and wants to be seen, be heard, and be remembered, that's what we're here for.
Okay. Thank you. How can everybody connect with you?
I'll scroll this at the bottom. You can find me on, or you can email me at lyndonw@thedifferenceradio.com. Our office number is 972-866-4596. If you type in hashtag the difference, we're going to pop up everywhere. We are dominating that hashtag right now. If you look on Google, if you type that in Google, we are, I think, 18 out of the top 20 that will pop up when you type in hashtag the difference. So you'll see whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, we're everywhere, and you can find us there.
And that's awesome, because you shared that with me, and I was able to go in and check that out. And you did that in a pretty short amount of time.
18 months.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
But that goes into being consistent with what you do. Well, you know what? Let's wrap this thing up and come to a close. Lyndon, this was awesome. And I'm glad that we had the opportunity to talk a little bit more. I learned some things about you, some more things about you. And I guess that's what having these conversations will do. A few key things that I took to heart is one, don't be afraid to say bye to the people that are not going in the same direction that you're going in. Sometimes you have to change your circle, and that's okay. Constantly be aware of yourself and constantly evaluate yourself. And then check out your behavioral brands. How do people perceive you? Lyndon made a point that he thought that I was positive. I want my viewers, my people that follow me, my tribe, to understand that I am a positive person, and there's a reason behind it. Those posts that I post in the morning, they're not for other people, they're for me. So, and other people just get to enjoy them. And so that is pretty much it. Want to go ahead and wrap this up. You can follow Chit Chat with Char on The Difference in the hashtags that are they're scrolling on the bottom. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And again, you can follow our guest, Lyndon Wilson, by tagging on the bottom, as well as the hashtag The Difference, which is truly making a difference. Lyndon, thank you so much for spending time with me this morning with Chit Chat with Char. And you guys look forward for the upcoming episodes. And again, Lyndon, thank you for this opportunity. And we're looking forward to doing some amazing things here in 2021. Thank you.